Good morning, everyone. My name is Bhaswat Sagar Sharma, your DY teacher. So today we will be understanding a basic concept that as to why does anemia in pregnancy leads to increased chances of preterm labor and consequently premature birth. Now, we have to understand we have to understand two basic concepts in this. First, during even during normal labor, for a normal labor to induce, there are signals which are given to the uterus. Now, those signals can be in terms of prostaglandins, which leads to the contraction of the uterus and also the cervical ripening. Now, that is the normal physiological aspect. One. Second, now the question that we were addressing, which was why does anemia in pregnancy lead to premature birth due to preterm labor? Why does that happen? Because as we know, in anemia there is decreased hemoglobin. Decreased hemoglobin leads to decreased oxygen carrying capacity. Right? Clear? Till here we are able to follow? Right. Now, decreased hemoglobin leads to decreased oxygen carrying capacity. Decreased oxygen carrying capacity leads to a state of hypoxia. Now, a state of hypoxia is created and it also leads to uteroplacental insufficiency. Remember the words that I'm talking about here: hypoxia, uteroplacental insufficiency. Now, because of uteroplacental insufficiency, as we know from the basics, that any place where hypoxia is there is release of inflammatory cytokines. Now, since there is release of inflammatory cytokine, that in turn leads to release of prostaglandins. Now, what was happening because of release of prostaglandins in normal pregnancy? Cervical ripening and uterine contraction. Therefore, in anemia, because of anemia in pregnancy, there is hypoxia, uteroplacental insufficiency, leading to release of inflammatory markers, which in turn leads to release of premature release of prostaglandins, which leads to premature cervical ripening and uterine contraction, and therefore delivery of the baby.